The Minecraft Warden is one of those mobs that seems to have been made to be feared. And today I'm here to prove to you that it would make a perfect psychological horror monster. What makes you run away and rage quit actually belongs in a movie on the big screen. First, what does the average player encounter with a warden look like? It's usually sudden. You're digging, then you get the darkness effect. Or you're exploring the caves, then you see the Sculk. A huge layer that seems to have converted the dull stone into a living dark blue breathing tapestry. Whether you're with friends or alone, panic kicks in. You can feel your cold breath on your lips. If you know the warden rules, then you know 2 other sudden moves and you're dead. So you crouch. But if you slip through the instructions, you ignore the signs and rush through the Sculk vines. And God forbid you are the only one in your friend group that's gifted with the oracle. You'd feel like the only sober one at a party leading a group of drunk people, trying to keep the drunken ones at bay, while you suffer the secondhand smoke. You're so stressed that breathing gets harder through the incomprehensible sentences you're quickly stringing together, trying to convince them all to stay still, but to no avail. You are doomed. One and all. You, a Cassandra of your time. Then you hear it. A foul rhythmic beating of a newly awakened creature, shredding the ground you once stood on without watching a step, and stretching the limits of what you once believed was real. An infernal spawn has joined you on the same ground. A battle you'll surely lose has begun unannounced. It's one you've come unprepared for. Every instinct of yours is on the enemy's side. And to add insult to injury, the last thing you ever hear is your sighs and his glowing, beating heart. A heart that stood undecided between leaning left and human-like or leaning right to the likeness of the sea beasts. Once you realize the battleground is also his accomplice, you're too late. He hits you once or twice, always generous, with loud, glottal tornadoes of noise. It hits your body till it renders it a corpse. Ooh, that was fun. Anyway, let's look at our psychological horror monster recipe because the Warden follows it quite well. First of all, the horror element. It has to be psychological, not based on gore or blood, and the best way to do this is to depend on any human patterns or weak points. Last time we used the Maslow hierarchy of needs to explain the horror behind Herobrine, so now we can try that with the Warden too. Now, when I examine the Warden, I see 2 levels affected by the Warden. First, safety needs. This includes when you as a player encounter the Warden, you are in danger just because you have a job to do, aka getting resources. In a movie setting, this could be utilized to its fullest if we make our protagonists like some innocent, unsuspecting archaeologists, for example, that have a job to do and didn't see the dangers ahead. And I chose archaeologists because I want to find a reason for them to be down there with the Warden in the ancient city and to find the ancient city. The second level would be love and belonging. This level or tier, I guess, is all about how much you can trust and feel like you belong to your group. And if we set up our protagonists to like be kind of like friends, we can challenge that bond after they like encounter the monster. And why am I so sure? Well, if you've ever played Minecraft with friends, then spawned the Warden by accident or on purpose, you know that one of them can doom all of you. One wrong move and all of you are done for. Betrayal can also be an option. If player A throws something at another player, it can lead the Warden to them, distracting it so that player A can run away. If you know a friend with a crazy fight or flight response to anything, then you know trouble is ahead. Like, imagine all of that in a serious movie setting. Our movie should like make the people watching pose questions like, how far can you trust your own reflexes, your fight and flight responses, which are there to help you survive, but also they can be, in this context, your detriment. And of course, how far can you trust your friends, their intentions, and raw reflexes as well? If you guarantee their conscious loyalty, can you forgive their subconscious mistakes? And if you grew up a clumsy kid, you know what that feels like. You didn't mean to break something like a cup, but swinging your hand by accident did it. And suddenly you are screamed at. Even if you say sorry or you say that you didn't mean it, the broken glass is a consequence everyone must deal with. Something else to add to the Warden's psychological horror factor is how mysterious serious it is. Like, if you don't know anything about it and you don't know the rules, you are pretty much done for. So the choice for us to have our protagonists be completely unaware is very important. It should be their first time facing this monster, like with no prior records or knowledge. I think this choice also works well with the choice by the developers to make it like, to make the warden very strong and hard to defeat. This was basically to signal to players that the point is to avoid the warden, not to fight it. And to quote King B Dogs, when a tornado is barreling towards you, you don't try to kill it, you run away. The warden is exactly the same. So we can say the movie would be the protagonist trying to leave, to escape the caves. That's their only task. No need for more information about why the warden is there or what it is. I like that mystery, okay? Just like Mojang offered us nothing, our movie will do the same as well. But if we wanted to create a narrative or to kind of leave Easter eggs, then we will have to create a killing pattern, or the why, which is the second step of our psychological horror monster recipe. Now, this is where I go into full fanfiction territory. I'm not gonna lie. Let's come back to the point that the warden is the protector of the Sculk-covered city. If we assume people once inhabited the city and examine the petroglyphs on the stone city walls that resemble his face, we can conclude that the warden was a hero protecting his people. And since the skull covering the city is the same one that he emerges from, I made up this little thing. I see a story of imposter syndrome, and please hear me out. I see the warden as a character well respected by the people around him, yet still feels like they contain a different darkness within, which makes them feel isolated and just unfit to be with the rest of the people. If, like the Iron Golem, the warden was made to protect its people, he must move and feel like a machine, because he's not just like a human being. So it's pretty different than the protectees. He must feel like a tumor. Every time he kills to protect, he consumes, or rather like the Sculk does. It's hard to say if it's part of him or if it has a brain of its own. I think the idea of being created for a sole purpose is also very troubling. Like, can you imagine how that feels? If you still don't get it, then all I have to say is the warden's character for me is similar to Pip's character from Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, or Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Both, even when they are well respected in like big rooms and halls, their hearts seem to stay hollow, echoing self-doubt and judgment, a sinking feeling of otherness and displacement. This could be the reason why the warden kills, but it doesn't have to be in our movie. What do you think? Finally, let's examine the characters getting targeted by the warden. We have to make them relatable, but also I low-key want their arcs to kinda work well with the theme of darkness we've been talking about. Even though I know my story here is full of plot holes, let me go crazy, okay? In our imaginary psychological horror thriller, when it comes to our protagonist's arcs, I have drawn inspiration from another classic, Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. I know the theme is very in your face, but still. The overall conversation around this book is about racism, which is very serious. That's a completely valid one, okay? But today, I'm only telling you we will treat the theme of the darkness within. We're gonna be inspired by it. That doesn't mean we're gonna follow and hit the same plot points. In the book, the main character, Charles Marlowe, goes deep into the heart of the Congo forest, down the Congo River. The darkness, I believe, is a reference to the dark vibe of the place and how it kinda, the long you stay in the forest, the long you succumb to the darkness within, and also probably to the skin color of the people that were viewed as savages living in the forest. The thing is, by the end of the book, the only darkness we are made aware of or that we sense as readers and realize that it exists is the darkness within humans. Marlowe starts the journey idolizing this white trader Kurtz, who turns out to be this aggressive, crazy, evil guy. He is like crazy, like killing people who defy him and putting their heads on sticks and keeping them outside his house type of crazy. He goes truly nuts and dies, and Marlowe's perspective is kind of like changed of him. Because at first Kurtz was there to civilize the Congo natives. You know, colonialism. But he is far worse than any picture painted of the savagery of the natives. He embodies the darkness of corruption and the destruction caused by hunger for power and greed and imperialism. And of course, the hypocrisy of the white man's burden. We can be inspired to form our protagonists' arcs. If we set up the story to be them going underground to explore the darkness beneath their feet, deep into the caves, then calling the warden a monster, but actually discovering that the real darkness resides within all of them as they betray each other or learn more about how they behave under pressure, and they just don't forgive each other. And they, as they struggle to survive, they actually start to see their true colors. And this could juxtapose, for example, the warden. The warden chooses to stay and protect the city even when the people in it run away, leaving him there, for example. The story still needs some shaping. Let's agree on that. I don't know. What do you think? I'm just a crazy English major student that likes Minecraft. I'm not a screenwriter. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have for today. What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear them in the comments below. Subscribe for more. Bye! I have exams next week and I'm writing what's technically Minecraft Warden fanfiction. Anyway.